Now, as we mentioned before, when it comes to country governance, the ancient sages put a great deal of emphasis on the requirements on the man in power as compared to the political structure itself. In the doctrine of the mean, Confucius made this point very distinct. He said, the principles of the government of Wen and Wu, King Wen and King Wu, are always displayed in the records. But when there are the right person, the right man, such a government flourishes. While without such men, such a government decays and ceases. With a good quality of men, the growth of government is rapid, just as vegetation is rapid in land of good quality. Thus, a government is like an easily growing rush. Therefore, the administration of government depends upon men. This is absolute key, and this is quite clear. Even with the government principle of the sages rulers like King Wen and King Wu of the Western Zhou dynasty in place, it is still the quality of men that makes a great difference in the government. So Confucius, very clearly put human resource above the form of government. Now, the question is, where do we find these people? Where do we find these men of quality? Well, according to Confucius, this is achieved through a system called educational election. It says that education is the only criteria of selection of officials. Now, since aristocracy and hereditary rights played a major role during Confucius' time, he explicitly pointed out that no privilege is given to the aristocrats in the selection process. He said, the eldest son of the Son of Heaven, by his proper queen, was capped only as an ordinary officer, and there was nowhere such a thing as being born noble. So what's happening here? Well, in ancient China, there was the so-called capping ceremony. Okay, and this was to recognize that the receiver has grown up and must take on corresponding responsibility. So the fact that the son of the emperor only used the cap of an ordinary student means that the right and nobility is not awarded by birth, but it must be earned, even for the rightful heir to the throne. In the spring and autumn, there was a story about Duke Mu of Song. Okay, now as the Duke Mu of Song was badly ill, he gathered Defense Minister Kong Fu and asked him to take care of Shang. And he said, the past king gave up his son Yu and had me as his successor. I must not forget that. If the past king asks me about you, how should I answer him? I ask you to assist you to run the government. Then I will have nothing to regret after I die. Now Kong Fu replied, well, all of us are willing to serve your son Feng. But the Duke Mu said, no, the past king asked me to run the government because he recognized my virtue. If I throw away virtue and hold on to the throne, this is against the past king's kindness, not to say virtue. Isn't it a matter of urgency to promote the virtue of the past king? I ask you not to throw that away, the great cause of the past king. So consequently, the Duke commended his son Feng to station at a different state. So in fact, Confucius denied the hereditary right of aristocracy and gives educational election as a substitute. So even in Confucius' time, this was quite a revolutionary idea, if you like. Now, in terms of operationalizing the principle of educational election, Confucius recommended that the eldest son of the king and his other sons, the eldest sons of all of the feudal princes, the sons by their wives proper, of the high ministers, great officers, and officers of the highest grade, and the eminent and elect scholars from all the states, all repaired, entering the school according to their years. Now, although it seems that there is a high concentration of the descendants of the high classes, an important feature here is that the son of the emperor is in the same class as the common people and ranked only by their age. Xun Zi also recommended that the morality and education is the only criteria that separates people. For example, the son of the emperor simply cannot be among the high class if he doesn't possess the right character. For the sons of the common people with good education and good character, they are elevated to the class of the nobles. So, in summary, we can say that title is not, automatically awarded based on aristocracy, but there is what is called the educational aristocracy. Educational aristocracy. Now, you might argue that, wait a minute, there is still a difference between classes, and there's still, notion of noble class and ordinary class. Isn't it a sign of inequality? Well, educational aristocracy is unavoidable unless human characteristics are equal by birth. The function, however, of education is to raise personal character, moral standard, and improve intellectual ability. And equality-wise, the only thing that human power can do is to make education universal and free. That's the best thing we can do. So this way, everyone has equal or near equal opportunity to improve themselves and enter the so-called high classes. So this is the way of Confucius. This should also drive the social policy in allocation of education resources. Now, we will talk about the distribution of resources and equality in a later lecture in much more detail. Now, we have discussed the importance of education in awarding title and power. Now, let's have a quick look at election, just how election is directly related to education. Now, according to the ideal of Confucius, the best students from local schools are elected and transferred to higher level institutions. And such screening takes place all the way to the national university. Then the feudal princes would send the best students to the emperor and let them study at the imperial university. Then the top students are called complete scholars, and then the titles are conferred upon them. Now, as we can see, education is the exclusive qualification, is the only ticket to official position. Remember that this is the education system that emphasizes on both academic performance and cultivation of morality, with filial piety and integrity as the center. So when both technical and moral education is widely available, which is our goal, everybody has the chance to be, let's say, the prime minister. Although it's not necessary that everyone should have the ambition to be the prime minister, of course. And as we said, this kind of educational election system put great emphasis on the person's filial piety, filial spirit, and integrity. And good education is defined by successfully achieving the personal cultivation in these aspects. So this way, the elected officials are truly the virtuous ones, and they will be able to represent the interest of the people. Now, this concludes our lecture 3. Thank you.